been a few days since I've done one of these, so let's get to it. Sometimes there's just like some kind of phrase, word, that I think of it and it just sort of thrills me as a, potential personal meme or personal possible, it's called like a trailhead or line of inquiry. It's my own personal meaning making, sense making, meaning making. There's something about the phrase meaning making that doesn't quite seem right to me. Like it's the wrong, like the making word feels wrong. Just like the word joyful. I don't like the word joyful because it's not joyful is like the least joyful word I can think of. If you're describing something as joyful, it's you're doing it from a state of not feeling joy. Anybody who's feeling joy would not use the word joyful. It's about making. Say meaning making, it suggests that somebody has the fundamentally like some kind of like wrong or mistaken, not mistaken, say counterproductive concept or frame, grammar. I have the wrong grammar for thinking about meaning. Anyways, back to the words and things that excite me. Still working on states as my 1 week adventure, and it's gone on for more than a week. Part of that's because I don't feel like I've been able to actually put like a week's work of time or energy into it, but I'm there's more. There's some kind of project. There's a project that I have in mind for for some kind of artifact, something that I'll have written down at the end of this, having to do with states. Already did this little rough draft of sort of like a matrix here, but 3x3, and the axes. Let's go. One of them around across here is sort of your energy level. So consider whether you're feeling kind of low energy, normal, average energy, and then kind of like high energy. And then along this row, I guess I've used the word functioning, which could be kind of poor, not ideal, not your best self. And a normal, average functioning, kind of this in terms of persona. Your person is just like, basic, everyday level. And then whether one's sort of being more of your sort of optimal, ideal, excellent self. This is inspired by something that I read in that book, How to Be an Adult in Relationships. Which it's a very kind of it just cracks me up as the title for a book, and it's not bad in terms of a relationship book. It's I haven't read it all the way through, but there's definitely stuff that I've kind of gleaned from it that seems very kind of wise and practical, while not being your kind of run-of-the-mill kind of professionalized, John Gottman style marriage advice. Not that there's anything wrong with that, not at all. And anyways, so I kind of filled in certain things. So I said, say if you're feeling low energy and low functioning, just not ideal, low, then maybe falling, like things, in terms of things you could do when you're in that state. And I said, like sleep, maybe your best option for what to do that you're capable of is maybe just like fall asleep or just like lie in bed. I'm not prone to like lying in bed level depression, so anyways, for me, I think that's not a bad option in that state. I also feel a certain amount of feeling sorry for yourself and self-pity, crying, just wallowing a little bit might, and this sort of feeling the crumminess might be something that will allow you to kind of reset and recover and get to more normal in one dimension or another. And maybe just basic self-maintenance, and maybe even distraction, distraction, just like read something or bit of distraction, you might go from low functioning to back up to normal functioning. And also basic self-maintenance is just like maybe just really basic, like having a shower, brushing your hair, washing your face, tidying up your room. And yeah, so those are options. Whereas, say, another thing I had. Oh yeah, say you're kind of in an ideal, optimal. Conversely, say ideal, optimal, state in terms of like maybe just everything up there is good, and feeling comfortable. But you're low energy. Maybe that's a time to just like really relax. You can like experience maybe some deep relaxation. You can, feel gratitude, awe, be like, isn't it good to be alive? Just really like taking it in and just being like, everything's great. Whereas say if you're high, feeling ideal and high energy, then, maybe that's, there's more potential for like actually like real creativity, seize the moment, kind of doing action. That's more of a seize the moment thing. Now, what did I have in the middle? Oh yeah, I had those, say if you're normal energy level, but you're in that more ideal band. Normal energy, that's maybe, I thought like maybe that's where you can challenge yourself. A little bit more room to kind of challenge yourself. Kind of push certain things through or do things that maybe you normally feel resistance to, like maybe really getting some things done on your to-do list that you've been like avoiding. Anyways, I haven't really finished filling it in. This is for first draft. But the idea here, and I'd like to do more of these, is just noticing. First, start by noticing what state you are in, or states. And then once you notice where you are, you can then start to think about what your options are. And I think it's neat, any process that allows you to kind of discover that like, oh, in this moment, like right now, I've got options. Options about, actually in the future. In the moment, I guess you could say, like in the imminent moment, there's a spiritual sense that you get of just of this radical acceptance that like, you couldn't be anywhere else. There's, this is it. And in a way, everything is a radical kind of acceptance, or everything's fine. Like in any given moment, you can't be anything or anywhere that you're not. Same as maybe like right in that current moment, and you can say, oh, this is all there is. There's just like that spiritual awakening thing that you can do. But anyways, that's not me. I'm not going to be able to come up with any advice on how to get there. Sorry. I'm not saying sorry to you as if anybody was expecting to get that from me, but I just know that's not. I'm aware of that, but anyways. I just think about your options in like, more like what you're going to do next in terms of your next actions or your intentions, right? In terms of actually your mind, developing some kind of intention. So there's room to consider your next moves. But anyways, consider possibilities for what you could be doing. So, for instance, if you do recognize that you're kind of in a not ideal state, then don't expect yourself to be seizing the moment and or doing something excellent, or even challenge, or even like really kind of challenging yourself with the tougher to-dos. I mean, maybe it's just being kind of low-hanging. Either if you've got to be doing something productive, be more in that low-hanging fruit, just do what you can. Really just set your sights low. or even sometimes just sort of give over to it and allow yourself, I hate the phrase self-care, but just that self-maintenance, and allow yourself to recognize that you feel bad. And just recognize and accept you feel bad. Anyways, so it's just maintaining a little bit more of a system for being able to, I'd like to have more of a kind of a practice or even a habit of noticing where I am, and then thinking about what I could do within that space, and also awareness of which spaces are adjacent, and in particular, like, it's not like you can go from here to here. You can't do that in one move. It's like this is chess or something. You kind of have to go through a few of these. And I guess you can maybe go here to here. I mean, maybe you could do. There's some way. Do I kind of pulling this way, and then you end up here. But I maybe it only takes a few moments from go to here, but I still, I still feel like it's two moves. So there's that. In terms of 3, I've got my little existential arena triangle here. And this is, it's a triangle. I've been riffing on that, Landry's immanent metaphysics triangle. I mean, maybe this maps to that, fine. But in terms of just my own language, in terms of something just more immediate and practical, it's like, okay, where is my focus in this moment? Where is my, what's the focus of my attention? Like, where am I shining that beam, that spotlight of awareness? And so it's whether it's sort of internal, not really kind of internal, in one's head type of thing, life of the mind, thinking, which is definitely where I gravitate towards. There's also sensing. So that's more of a sort of the more sensory place. And so that could be sensing the sensations in your body, or physically just noticing things physically, noticing, using your vision to just sort of look at your environment and noticing the sounds. I guess sort of meditation is very much about sort of shifting your focus a little bit kind of into that sensing realm without the sort of the judgment, the kind of judgment sort of language-based judgments of the internal voices and whatever. So sensing. And then there's social over here. And now social, in a way, maybe it is kind of it requires an integration of both of these. Do both internal verbiage or intention. No, I don't know, not really. Social, I guess you could just think about, like, within this way of social fields with, in the company of others. Anyways, one thing that I would like to do would be when I am in that kind of internal state, just like, even just for a moment, practicing being in that the sensing one. Okay, I'm back. Anyways, I want to map out more going from here to there, there to there, there to there when it comes to different states. Particularly activities, actually. A lot of it is just wanting to have a bunch of different activity squares and being like, oh, if you are, reading something on your phone, you are in a position where you are looking at your phone, and maybe you ask, okay, is this the medium that I want to be engaging with? Or could I be reading a book? Maybe not. You can continue looking at the screen. Are you able to open up the note thing and kind of type in a few notes with your thumb or your fingers? Or no, if you're not going to do that, you can be reading. What are the other things that you could be reading? Anyways, just picture mapping out all these different activities and which ones are just like one step or one degree, within reach. Now, in terms of some intentions, I'm just going to rattle off a few intentions I have right now that I feel excited about. One of them is the idea of reading a book from beginning to end. Although, yeah, which book is it going to be? I picked up this book on a whim today. Saw Jeff at the movie theater, and he said it had come into novel idea and thought it might be of interest, and it is. It's not too big, but it's about the Moss family and their small empire of movie theaters in New York, and it does get into early cinema history, which is something I'm quite interested in. It's just thinking like in the first few decades. I'm particularly one thing that just grabbed me was that J. Hoberman book. He said that in New York, it just in the course of 1 year, from 1905 to 1906, New York went from having almost zero movie theaters to having hundreds or something, that there was just this boom, explosion of them, just like there's been explosion of cannabis shops since it became legalized. Just the idea that something could spread so quickly. Back in the day when you just imagine some of the things would be harder to build then, but no, it seems like some of these people are able to build things faster. Like the Empire State Building. But anyways, just that the history of the cinema business, during the silent era. It's the business itself, in a way, I find more gripping than the films. Just because there's just so many surprises about the reality of how things were. Anyways, I figure this could be potentially for me insight porn. That would be my hope, that it's just full of oh, I never knew that in terms of how the business is operated. And I mean, there's that book about Roxy, what's his name? The Showman. It's another book that's a bit more academic about the life of movie theater guy. And that's good. I mean, what I read so far, that was interesting, but it's a bigger, much more daunting book. This is written for the lay reader. And look at that. And yeah, if I want to read a book from beginning to end, this is definitely more doable than that. Anyways, it looks entertaining, but at the same time, this could align with this feeling of us wanting to renew my, connection, relationship to movie theater and movie theater business, and keeping the spark alive. Anyway, so reading a book, enthusiastic about that. Paper, that was just yesterday and today in general. Paper, a few years ago I was obsessed with this idea of what I was calling new paper, which would be, just some kind of digital medium for self-expression. Anyways, I'm thinking, well, I can write down more things rather than doing kind of my thinking sort of online. I can actually write down more things on paper. Particularly, really, I mean, I'm writing things on Twitter, but I would really like to be able to just come up with a few more diagrams that I would just photograph and put online. Just keep practicing, and then one day I might come up with something really good. And if I can write, not just write, it's not about writing on paper. I find it much more fluent to write stream of consciousness typing, but being able to have a more spatial, do more kind of, I don't know, just sort of more spatial, diagrammy things with words, and also writing things a bit more kind of poetic, like writing some more poems maybe with my calligraphy pen. And when it comes to the sort of simple acts of creation rather than consuming, paper is a great medium for that. This isn't a surprise, but it is for me. So, paper is the theme, including the idea of reading the book, paper book. And one thing too I can say about this is just somehow like this book, the idea of it's not as heavy on one's wrist, that makes a difference. There's bigger, heavier books are harder. This is something I might even be able to hold one-handed. I like that. Got Japanese box, my box of Japanese paper remnants that I got at Minotaur. Do something kind of crafty with those, with Vera. Paper, it's more so than whatever I'm engaged with on my phone. Paper things, I'm engaged more with paper. That's something that Vera can engage with more immediately. But also too, if I'm reading a book, she's less likely to kind of want to grab it away from me than if, say, I was looking at my phone around her. And it's just more legible. Like if I'm reading a book, what it is that I'm doing is more, I could say, more legible to her. And I like that. Just as, I have I have some affinity for jobs and things. Not affinity, I believe in jobs and things that kids can look at and understand what you're doing. Speaking of which, Vera looks like she's just about to come in, so I'm going to sign off.